race fans, my name is Taylor and welcome back to Above the Yellow Line, the show where we talk all about the NASCAR Cup Series. This is a packed episode filled with fun topics, exciting discussions. We got a lot of updates and hot takes to get to this week. There has been a lot of news dropped this week. After that, though, we're going to get to our playoff predictions with some Above the Yellow Line regular guests. I'm excited to discuss with them who their championship picks are and who's going to fall just short. And finally, after that, we're going to preview the first race in the round of 16, the Cookout Southern 500 at Darlington Raceway, starting Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. But like I said, lots of updates to start with, so without further ado, let's get to it. The big piece of news to drop this week, Kurt Busch announces that he will be joining 23XI Racing in 2022. He will drive for Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin with new teammate Bubba Wallace in the number 45 Toyota. And two things important about this. One, the 45 is a jersey number that Michael Jordan wore when he came out of his retirement for the first time in 1995. Secondly, Toyota. This is not a manufacturer that Kurt Busch has driven before. So this tells me two things in particular. One, knowing Kurt Busch's history, I don't think he's going to struggle with this that much because he's driven pretty much every other manufacturer in the field. So he has a lot of experience to bring to the team, telling, hey, maybe this is what Chevy did well, here's what they didn't do well, so here's what we can learn from that, here's what the Fords did well, here's what they didn't. So I don't think he's going to struggle as much, but with that also comes helping his new teammate, Bubba Wallace. I've said this many times, I really think Bubba could benefit from having a teammate, a veteran driver to help him grow as a driver, grow his talents. I think this could also benefit him in getting a win. With the next gen car, I do want to mention this because I think it is so important if you have a single car team. I'm worried for you, and here's why. If you have one car running in the next gen and you have no clue how it's supposed to run with no practice, no qualifying, hopefully we bring that back next season just a little bit so these cars and these teams can figure out the new next-gen car. But if you only have one car, you have one data point. If you have two cars, and let's say one car runs very well during a race and one car runs very poorly, you at least have the good data to look at to fix your other car. So having a two-car operation going into 2022, I think is crucial for the success of 23XI Racing moving forward, and I absolutely think and I hope this is a stepping stone to a bright future for the organization. Also with the Kurt announcement, some fans had a very keen eye and noticed the number placement move on the car in the video that was taken with Kurt Busch announcing his move to the team. Let's take a look, shall we? Okay, to start, if the numbers had to move anywhere, I was in favor of them moving forward, though I would have preferred them not to move at all. In this case, the numbers are way too far forward and it looks gross to me. In all honesty, it really does. It honestly looks like the numbers, for me, are an afterthought. I would suggest to fix this, we move the numbers an inch or two backwards towards the center of the car. Not in the center of the car because that defeats the purpose, but towards the center. I think it would make things look much better. But if the numbers will stay this way, I guess all I ask for NASCAR and these teams is that they really utilize the extra sponsorship space that this provides to fill in the empty gaps. Granted, I know that this is not how the car is going to look. I know there's going to be more sponsors added to the car. But if there is so much blank space in the car, then what's the point of having the numbers moved forward to have more sponsors? So all I ask, we utilize this space. Also, I might not be buying diecast next year, but that is all I'm saying on this issue for now. We'll have to see how these cars look when they're all put together next season. But that's the numbers conversation. Let's move that to the side before I get more angry because we gotta talk about Noah Gragson. Another driver announcement for 2022. He is staying with Junior Motorsports in the number 9 with Black Rifle Coffee as a sponsor, Bass Pro Shops, and True Timber sticking with him next season. We were all uncertain about his future. I was a little scared. I didn't know if he was gonna stay with Junior Motorsports or not. I thought it was a good fit for him, so I'm excited that they worked things out to be back in the number 9 next season. We know Josh Berry is going to be in the number 8 full-time for the next season, and Sam Mayer is slated to drive full-time for Junior Motorsports next season, so that's 3 rides already filled. So that leaves the question, who's going to fill the 4th ride? We still have 2 drivers left on the team. We have Michael Annett and we have Justin Allgaier. We still don't know their plans. However, something interesting that Dale Jr. mentioned is that they are not opposed to running a 5th car. For me, it's a matter of, well, does the budget work? And also, is it worth the risk of running a 5th car? That's, like I said, financially, it could be extra damage to a car, but it could also mean more chances of winning. Weighing out our options, Really unclear about what's happening with those two drivers in particular with Junior Motorsports, speaking about Annette and Allgaier. So we'll have to see going into 2022 as the pieces fall into place for Junior Motorsports. But speaking of full-time rides, charters, and everything, we have some charters that are going away in the Cup Series. We're going to be talking about two teams in particular for our final announcements of updates and hot takes. Let's start with major news number one. The team StarCom that has Quinn Half as their driver in the 00 is supposedly selling their charter according to an article from jski.com. They have not confirmed that they're selling it, but apparently if they have, when they confirm it, it's going to Spire Motorsports. So we'll have to see how that plays out. The final piece of news from updates and hot takes comes about the team JTG Doherty. Now, we've heard a lot of rumors about this team, whether they're selling a charter, they're going to be selling the team. That was the original rumor that was kind of spreading around. There was also a rumor that they were adding a charter to their team. Well, it was finally confirmed this week that JTG Doherty will be going to a one-car operation in 2022. According to an interview with Brad Doherty, he said it really didn't make sense to have two teams that were just kind of subpar, in my words. He wants to focus on having one really good team, which I think is very important, but this leaves two things unanswered. One, Ryan Preece is now out of a ride. They are selling his charter, and there's not a ride available for him in the Cup Series, so he is still looking for an opportunity. But I'm also reminded that he won a Truck Series race in his first time in the Truck Series this year, so maybe an opportunity will open up there. Finally, this leaves the question of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. His charter has not been renewed for next season as we know right now, so we'll have to see where he ends up or if he stays in that one chartered team car going into 2022. That is all for updates and hot takes this week on the show, but now let's go to Future Taylor and the guys of Above the Yellow Line to talk about our championship picks, who will make it and who will break it in the 2021 Cup Series playoffs.
Okay, so I told you all we'd be joined by a few Above the Yellow Line pals because like every other NASCAR enthusiast out there, we're gearing up for the playoffs starting this weekend with the Cookout Southern 500 at Darlington, or the Southern 500. And nothing is more fun than kicking off the playoffs with some friends. And at Above the Yellow Line, we have the regulars here with us, Adam Lucas and Dom Joseph, back to show us their picks for the playoffs. So welcome back, gentlemen, and what's been going on since we saw you last?
Oh, a lot has happened since our last encounter on Above the Yellow Line. I recently accepted a new job that's full-time.
Hey.
Yes, let's get it. In these tough COVID times, I was able to break through. So I'm really excited to get started with that. I'm about 2 weeks into it, and college football kicks off this weekend. So I'm really looking forward to it. And hey, NASCAR playoff season. Let's get to it.
And then Don, yeah. I see you are ready for football season.
I don't know what tipped you off about that, but yes, it's game day for the Ohio State. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, football season's back. NASCAR playoffs are back. And yeah, I'm just excited to go for playoffs. There's a lot on the line here. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of question marks coming into the playoffs this year, because as easy as it is to pick a champion, there are so many variables that can play out. It's just got to get it started to find out.
Exactly. I think this is the year, in particular with when I'm thinking about the past years in NASCAR, where there is just so many unknowns. I had such a hard time filling out my bracket. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, of course, we have to look back at last weekend with the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona. And up on your screen is the results for you all, with back-to-back wins from Ryan Blaney. That makes 3 wins for the 12 team. His spotter gave us a masterclass, making spectacular calls and directing his driver on those chaotic final laps. He did incredible. I honestly recommend you look up the video of the radio call for the final overtime. And you'll also see on your screen Chris Buescher's name in red. He had a great end of the day, competing for a win, finished in second, I believe. Newman was up there too. As I said, that team would be above the yellow line the last episode. Unfortunately, though, after a post-race inspection, it was found that Buescher had an illegal track bar mounting assembly issue, which resulted in their disqualification. Also, you'll see, finishing our playoff picture, Tyler Reddick made his way in after both RCR teammates struggled a little bit during Daytona. Nevertheless, the number 8 car makes their way into the battle. So with that race, then we have the point standings going into the playoffs also on your screen. Just so you know, everything resets. Each driver that made it in is given 2,000 points, plus their playoff points from stage wins and race wins, or stages in race wins. So this is how it all shakes out. got to bring the guys back in, asking you both about these points. Have you guys been following them closely? Because I feel like I have been, but I'm also finding myself kind of surprised with how things shook out. I don't know. We'll start with Adam. Are you surprised with how these points shook out for a few of the drivers?
Not entirely. I really have not been paying attention to the points besides right at the cutoff line throughout the entire season. I've been looking at more so just visual performance, wins. Wins really help, especially when you get to this point of the season. So no, I really have not.
Tom, what about you?
With this day and age in NASCAR, there really isn't much of a reason to look at the points. It's just if you have the victory, okay, they're in the playoffs. There's no need to look. And in my personal opinion, I think crowning a regular season champion is kind of off-putting. It's like, what are we really rewarding here? Because if we're going to crown a regular season champion, that should obviously be your true champion of the sport, because that's an overall performance on the full season. But I don't really look at the points. I'm on Adam's side here. When it comes to points, I'm about the cutoff line, because that's really where it matters most. It's for those guys that say, okay, we know victory lane isn't that easy of an option, but if we stay consistent, we're going to be successful in terms of making it into the playoffs. And that's really the only spot I've been paying attention to.
I have to agree. I think the most interesting part of the point standings is looking at that cutoff one. Obviously, the battle between the RCR teammates was very intriguing. Any driver, the win to get in, I'm also very iffy on that. I would have to agree with Dom a little bit here. Like, naming a regular season champion is almost like counterintuitive to the whole point.
Right.
So, within the future, maybe something for NASCAR to look at, but nevertheless, these were the drivers that made it in. I will say, though, Bowman surprised me a little bit, honestly. I know he won 3 races, and that has major points implications there, like in a good way. But based on, I think we've seen more negative from him, or at least on TV, we've shown more negatives from him than positives. Though I know he's had a lot of like top 10s recently. And then Byron being so low in points surprised me. Obviously, he has 1 win, but we all remember, and I remember because I said this on my podcast like every week, his top 10 streak, I thought would give him more points, but it didn't seem to shake out that way. But that's all of our surprises. Let's get into round 1 of the playoffs. And here's how it's going to all work. Here's how we're going to lay it out here. We are going to go through each round of the playoffs, saying who we have eliminated each round and why. We're going to have some debate, some heated discussion, or maybe not. Maybe we'll agree. But we'll give our championship winning picks, and then I'll show you our full brackets, including our buddy Zach Bell, who could not be here tonight. We're going to show you all of the playoff standings of how we think things are going to lay out. So round of 16, let's talk about who's not making it past the first round in playoffs. And first I have to ask, because I hinted at this at the beginning of this segment, but did you guys struggle with this at all? And honestly too, like we mentioned, I don't know, there's a whole lot of unknowns. Dom, did you struggle making the bracket this year?
The first round, it's hard to even say this, but you start with the usual suspects of who will get eliminated first. And the first name that comes up right off the top of the head is Michael McDowell with Front Row.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing against his driving. It's not saying he's a bad driver. It's just, you've got a Front Row Motorsports car, which is, I would say, a mid-pack car at best on these racetracks, going up against all 4 Joe Gibbs cars, all 4 Hendrick cars, all 3 Penske cars that are all in it to win it. It doesn't add up for McDowell. But then you get rid of a usual suspect like that. I would even argue Tyler Reddick, just because he barely squeezed in on points that could hurt him in the playoffs. But then I even said, well, he's also very good at Darlington. He's also very good at this track. He's also very good at this track. He could squeeze in. So you have to sit there and think through, again, like all the variables that can happen. And it's just like trying to predict the NCAA basketball tournament. It's almost impossible. Just take a guess. Just take a guess and see if it works out for you. But I think the round of 16 wasn't too bad, but honestly, once I got to the round of 12, it was like, man, any of these guys can make it. So it was very tough for sure.
And then Adam, what about you? I also know you wanted to mention something about the banners, the playoff banners on the cars, I think.
Yes. So Stewart Haas Racing has been teasing them quite a bit over the past few days. It's very chase for the cup-esque, especially when we went to the playoff format with the yellow banners across the top and the yellow spoilers. It's very, very nostalgic, but it's also easier to identify the cars that are in the playoffs compared to last season where no one really recognized unless you had a pair of binoculars or really, really super, super good vision to actually see what car said playoffs on it. So I'm happy to see that for a visual aid because myself, I like seeing that. And being a diecast collector, obviously, if my guy wins, if Ryan Blaney wins a race during the playoffs, I will be ordering a diecast for sure. You can bet your bottom dollar on that.
Mark your words. And then did you struggle with anything in the playoffs, like making your bracket?
I did. I struggled tremendously. I should not have, but you know what? It's like what Dom said. It is basically March Madness, except it's NASCAR Madness. I might have a notebook of notes for this, but honestly, you just throw it out. It won't mean anything. It might mean something for the first round of cutoffs, but after that, it's wide open.
And you know, Adam, if I can jump in too, it's like honestly, there's people in I don't want to keep going to it, but in the NCAA tournament, they're called bracketologists, where they literally get paid to tell you how to pick your brackets and what is going to work, and it never works.
Exactly. It's almost like a meteorologist who says, oh, it's going to be sunny. Oh, there's a cloud. The meteorologist was wrong. You're wrong. So yes,
Right.
it was.
All you can do is guess.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to guess. You have to guess.
Now, I hope none of us have money on this because this would be the worst season, I think, to put money on this. Now, if you do and you do well, then big payday. But maybe not this year. If you're a betting person, maybe don't bet. Maybe just bet I can't think of anything. Don't bet anything. But I guess this just segues into who's not making it past the round of 16. Dom already hinted at two drivers I think we might all have probably not making it past this round. So I'll start with Dom just to finish out your roster of who's getting cut.
So yeah, McDowell was my first one, and that was just process of elimination. You know, it doesn't add up for his team, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is. Tyler Reddick was the next one for me, where I just said the points are going to catch up to him. But again, not bashing him at all. He worked his butt off to get into the playoffs, and he deserves to be in the playoffs. But I had to take him out as well. Eric Almirola was my third one, and that was just, it was a great race at New Hampshire. It was a wonderful strategy that played out perfectly into their hands, and he earned that victory too. But I just had to cut him out in the first round. And then my last one, which I really had to think about, but it had to happen, was Christopher Bell.
Adam, are you similar? Anything different?
Very similar, but with one major upset.
Oh no, I have a feeling I know what you're going to say.
Oh, you may or you may not. I guess we're about to find out. So obviously, building on what Dom has to say, Michael McDowell. As much as it hurts me to say that, because I've loved watching Front Row Motorsports turn from a start and park team into a super speedway ace into a, hey, these guys are pretty cool team, but they're going to be on the first plane back from elimination of the first round. Building on that, we have Eric Almirola, Cinderella win, sort of. That's about all you got this year. Yeah. They really have not had a great season, except for when it counted to get into the playoffs. It ends. Also have Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell's a strange case. The only reason I'm taking him out in the first round, if he would have advanced for my brackets, he wouldn't have made it past the round of 8. So I just think his inexperience with these high pressure situations, I think it's gonna affect him in this round, and it's gonna bite him in the butt, basically. And then, oh man, it pains me to say this, but here's the shocker. Kevin Harvick.
I had a feeling. Kevin Harvick.
I hate saying a shocker, but look at his performance this year. It's like watching Jimmy Johnson slowly go into the sunset of his
Oh, it
NASCAR.
hurts.
Yeah, and
It-
honestly, like it's heartbreaking, but I can absolutely see that happening.
it's sad because looking at these guys who have just recently retired, their last few years, you could see it. You could see the performance on track. You could see it in the wins column. You could see it just in their kind of demeanor, like, they got a family, they got options. Is this it? Or is this close to being it? So I don't think Harvick's going to retire, getting eliminated from the playoffs, but I definitely think he will be done.
I had a similar mindset, but I did exactly what Dom did. I have Reddick going out. I think just some experience things in there. I also think you're putting RCR up against the powerhouses, Penske, Hendrick, and Joe Gibbs. For me, it doesn't shake out. Maybe and I love Tyler Reddick. I am a big fan of Tyler Reddick, but I think maybe if Austin Dillon was in his space, maybe Dillon would move forward in my bracket, but we have Reddick here. Almirola, we already said Cinderella story. Otherwise, his season, for lack of better words, has sucked. So he's out of this round. McDowell, another kind of Cinderella win. He has shown some strength this season. Road courses, he's pretty decent at, as we know. But like I said, it's another smaller team going up against powerhouses. And then, like Dom, I also have Christopher Bell, a little bit of inexperience. I think he is at a team that could go farther. And I almost expect this to be the first time where I'm wrong in the playoffs right off the bat. But I think Harvick could potentially work his way in. I mean, he has experience, but also going off of what Adam said, I think we were starting to see a little bit of a decline. And this is also going to go into the next round with the round of 12. I'm going to talk about a driver who I have a similar theory on, but I at least see him making it in one more round. So let's talk about that next round. So the next round of 12, we're going to cut 4 out to get to the round of 8. Who are we cutting out? And I think I'm going to start with Adam this time. Adam, who do you have getting cut out after the round of 12?
Well, the guy you guys are just hating on a little bit, Tyler Reddick. I think he makes it to the round of 8, but I don't think he makes it past the round of 8. He'll find a way to make it to the 8, but past that, tracks are just not in his favor. So he will be out. Coming to my next one, Kurt Busch. Busch. I know. I'm so sorry. Kurt
Explain.
Here's the thing with Kurt. Kurt's a great driver. He still has a future. He's got a really good future, even though he's an old dog. He's got a bright future at 23-11 for 2022. But I just don't see it happening. Him getting into the next round. Also have Brad Keselowski.
Okay.
You got to clean out some of the pieces. Now we're getting more into the thick of it of who's going to be the true contenders, and I just don't think Brad has it. Brad's got his mind somewhere else, over there at Roush, possibly. Who knows? And then this one hurts. This next one really hurts me personally. Being that my significant other went to high school with him.
Mm-hmm.
However, going to high school, that's about all they have in common, because I believe Alex Bowman will be out after the round of 8.
Wow.
So much pain in that round right there, Adam.
I know. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but it is what it is.
All right, Dom, do you have anything similar, or do you want to comment on any of that?
So yeah, I can see where he's coming from, because I have an idea of where he was going with it, and it's that once you get to the round of 8, you can no longer be generous on, well, this guy's done really good all season. Talladega and the Roval are in this round, so you have to expect carnage. So I took that into effect and said, there is no way all the top dogs get through. Someone's gonna bite dust. So my first one out is Brad Keselowski. My second one out is Kevin Harvick.
Okay.
My third one out is Denny Hamlin.
Ooh.
Whoa, okay. You have to explain
my last
that.
one out, and my last one out is Alex Bowman.
Okay.
So my reasoning for Denny Hamlin is we have gone 26 races. He has had 26 tries to get a win. In his last 2 seasons, he has gone half a dozen or more. And he's got a goose egg in his list right now. The fact that he hasn't won is going to catch up to him. And again, I can't be generous anymore. I can't see a guy with no wins in the entire regular season getting to the round of 8. So that's why the FedEx 11 is out.
Yeah, that hurts. I do see the logic, and I think that's where I struggle with this round. I will say Denny Hamlin makes it past this round for me, but taking into account we're not going to talk about it over above the yellow line, but recent events, keep taking into account, yes, he is a top tier driver with no wins, a Kevin Harvick situation, except I think he has a few more years left in him in the sport. Pretty concerning. So I'll share mine, and we'll get into it a little bit. But I have Keselowski. We all agree Keselowski is probably out after this round. Adam said his mind is probably somewhere else. I would have to agree with that 100%. As much as he wants to win the championship, and he has, I think every year he posts like a list of to-dos or like goals for the year, and he has it on his list every year. I don't see the goal being checked off. Maybe at Roush, but that's also more of a not going to happen probably. And then after that, I think I have an upset in this one that nobody mentioned, but I do have Bowman also on this list. I love Alex Bowman. He's one of my favorite drivers. I can say that about many of these guys, but based on his season, I think, yes, the wins are going to help him advance to this round, but after that, I don't think he has what it takes to propel himself further based on like where he's going to finish. And then I have Kevin Harvick. He's 16th in points. That's not going to fly. Even if he does really well, if he gets a win, yes, he's into the next round, but I don't see that happening. Finally, the upset. And this is just a gut feeling. I don't know how to explain this, but I have Truex getting out in this round.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a risk, but I'm thinking about Truex, and I'm thinking, yes, the Roval is a good one for him. He's good at road courses. But I'm thinking Talladega. I'm like, probably not. Probably not. I see
I'm on the
carnage
same page with you. I'm on the same page. I think Talladega could haunt him.
Talladega
has done it before.
A lot of guys, I think.
Yeah.
This specific format just play, and that specific bracket of all of this, you got Talladega and the Roval. If you're
it's
down,
such a toss-up.
If you're down in the mud at Talladega, at the end of Talladega, it's going to be the struggle bus for you.
And if you think about recent history of NASCAR, Truex could have won the Cup in 2016, but Talladega ruined his chances of that, and he didn't make it to the next round.
That's where my brain was at. That's where I was looking at the tracks, and I was looking at these drivers where they finished. As you all know, on above the yellow line, I do the stats, I crunch the numbers. Sometimes I take chances. This is a part chance, part history with Martin Truex. Also, I don't think he's brought the thunder. I'm going to call it that. He's done in past years. And I don't know what that's all about, but that's kind of my shocker, and maybe bold prediction, or maybe prediction that works out for me at the end of this round. But now that we have this round out of the way, we have our final cuts to make for the championship 4. We're going to talk about who we think is going to be on our championship 4, and then give our championship pick. Who wants to go first? Anyone want to go first?
You have the floor.
All right. Well, so I think it would be fitting for the reigning champ to defend his crown all the way to Phoenix. So I've got Chase Elliott in the championship 4. And I say that because he has statistically done better than he did in his championship season. That doesn't always work out for people, but I think Chase, being ever consistent, can pull that off. So the Napa 9 is going back to Phoenix with a shot to go back to back. There's got to be a Penske car in the championship 4.
The stats show it.
So my pick is Ryan Blaney. I think Blaney goes to the championship 4 as the sole Penske representative in the championship 4.
You're going against your guy.
Don't remind me. I have my reasons. But anyways, I think, again, the way 2021 is gone, you have to have 2 Hendrick cars in the championship 4. And my second one is William Byron. I think the 24 car will pull it together in the playoffs because that's what the 24 car does if you follow NASCAR. So I know it's a different driver, but it just seems to work out that way. And my final one is a guy who is just, I believe it's happened before, but I think this guy will wake up in the playoffs and put hurting on the competition, Rowdy Busch. I think Kyle Busch gets to the championship 4. So I've left a very important name out of my championship 4, and that is the man with the most wins. That is Kyle Larson. And here is my reasoning for that. Like Taylor, I believe in trends. I believe in the numbers. The driver with the most wins in the last however many seasons, 2017 was the last time the driver with the most wins won the cup. And I just don't think it happens for Larson. Number one, he's never been this close. Number two, trends don't lie. The numbers don't lie. And number three, Carnage could catch up to the 5.
And we see that trend with Kyle Larson, I believe, with Carnage and him.
Yeah, exactly. Just when he thinks he's got it figured out, something happens.
Absolutely.
So those are my 4.
All right. Adam, you're up.
Okay, here we go. One Penske car, Joey Logano.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for resurrecting him.
Joey Logano will find a way. He always finds a way to somehow sneak into the round of 4, the final 4. Phoenix is not really a great track for him, but I think he'll make it. We also have defending champion Chase Elliott. Good track. Gotta have a Hendrick guy in there. I have another Hendrick driver that's going to be in there as well, but I'm going to save him until after I announce this other pick. We have the other Gibbs driver who everyone is knocking off because he hasn't won at all. He hasn't won in a long time. But I think Denny Hamlin will be able to build some consistency finally and be able to get back to the championship 4 and be a contender. One problem. I'm going to literally obliterate everything you guys just said about stats, having the most wins. Last time someone did that was 2017. Heck with the numbers. We're throwing Kyle Larson in there. He's going to win your championship.
Oh,
man, you just went all the way to your pick.
You went all the way.
That's it. Mic drop. Adios.
You skipped the line. Went right to the finish. My goodness. So,
Right.
okay. Here's where I agree with Adam. I said screw the numbers this time. And I know in every other podcast I have ever said on this show, even talking with you guys off camera, I said Kyle Larson's not going to make it to the championship 4. Something's going to happen, trend, it's going to be a Harvick situation. I said this on last week's podcast. But because I'm afraid I'm going to be wrong, and maybe I'll jinx something to where I'm right in my other podcast, so it works either way for me. But I have Kyle Larson getting into the championship 4. Then we have to have another Hendrick guy. And this is where I'm going to put in what I think all of us can agree. Chase Elliott somehow is going to make his way, or not somehow, he will make his way into the championship 4. And I say that, and now I feel like I'm going to jinx everybody. But championship 4 material. Then we have to get our Joe Gibbs guy, our Toyota guy. And I would have to agree with Dom here. Kyle Busch, I believe, is going to get into the championship 4. Rowdy usually turns it up this time of year. We've already seen him being able to contend with the Hendrick car, so it's a no-brainer for me that he's going to be the one Joe Gibbs guy, if anyone, to get in. I didn't have a theory that there'd be 3 Hendrick cars in the finals, but I decided against better judgment and lack of being scared to do that, to go with a Ford. And the Ford I'm going with, I struggled with this one. This is the one I struggled with the most. I was choosing between Logano and Blaney, and I decided to go with Ryan Blaney for this one because he has found momentum. He's been more consistent than Joey Logano. And actually, since Pocono, I mentioned this in the last podcast as well, he has the best average finish amongst all the drivers. He's very silent but deadly this season. So hoping to see something out of him in the playoffs, hoping to see something, maybe a championship win. I'm not sure. But speaking of that, final moment, guys. Adam spoiled a few things, but nevertheless, let's talk about our championship winning picks. So Adam, we'll start with you. Who's your pick? And do you want to explain why now that we know?
Stats don't lie. He's got a bunch of wins. He's been pretty consistent when it counts. I know he's had a little bit of a struggle bus getting into the playoffs, as in the races leading up to the start of the playoffs, but somehow Kyle Larson will find a way to win it. Championship coming back to Hendrick Motorsports.
All right, Dom, what do you think?
So, yeah, Harvick really proved last year that winning a bunch of races in the regular seasons means absolutely nothing. So that's why I went against Larson making it in. My champion is Ryan Blaney.
No!
I think Blaney does it. I think it's just, again, because I look back at last year and I've looked back at some recent championship runs, and some guys just managed to turn it up at the right time. And I think Blaney's done it. Now, granted, in 2018, his teammate Keselowski won 3 in a row right as the playoffs began and didn't make the championship 4. So this has helped and hurt people in the past. But I think Ryan Blaney will bring the championship back to Penske and back to the state of Ohio.
OH.
I-O.
Thank you. As you can see, I've got my Blaney shirt on. I'm a Ryan Blaney fan. Unfortunately, I know we're all Blaney fans here. We love Ryan Blaney here on the show.
Honestly, if Blaney becomes the champion, I will be a very, very happy guy.
I would probably cry. We're all getting die cast. Like, and that's,
I'll do it.
I mean, I've said on the show, I think Ryan Blaney is, for me, he's the people's champ. He's so good with fans. He's so good with his sponsors. I don't know. He is just the perfect driver to have as a face of the sport, I think. And to add to that, a championship would kind of solidify that, in my opinion. Unfortunately, though, I hate this because that's what I want to happen. I'm not doing this. This is not what I want to happen. This is like what I think will happen, but partially what I want to happen, because I'm also a Chase Elliott fan. But taking bias aside, I do think Chase Elliott could potentially break the stigma, break the stats, and go back to back and be your 2021 champion. And here's why. This season, we all think it's been a crappy season for him. But if you look at the stats, it's actually, as Dom said earlier in the podcast, Adam or Dom said, it's actually shaping up to be better than last season. His stats are a little bit better, even though we're not necessarily seeing that as we watch on the TV screen. But I think he's going to pick up the heat. He usually does this time in the playoffs. So my prediction, not confident on it. I don't think any of us are confident on any of this. But my prediction for your 2021 NASCAR Championship playoff is Chase Elliott. So here are our final playoff brackets for you with our buddy Zachary Belt in the mix. Comment below your championship pick, your championship winner, your playoff brackets. I'll mention something at the end of the video where you can actually submit your bracket to me on Above the Yellow Line for a chance to win some awesome prizes if you have the most correct in that bracket. But now it's time to move on.
Now it's time to preview this weekend's race with some track facts.
The track length is 1.366 miles. The race length is 367 laps or 500 miles. Technically, if we're counting correctly though, it's 501.322 miles long. Stage 1 and 2 are 115 laps each. In Stage 3, the final stage, is 137 laps. Now it's time to line up the field. No surprises here that Ryan Blaney, after back-to-back wins, gets the pole position for Sunday's event, and Denny Hamlin makes up the rest of the front row. Rounding out the rest of the top 5, we have Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott, and Alex Bowman. Now that you've seen the lineup, it's time to line up the odds and see how well these drivers will fare this weekend. Starting with the last driver to win at this track, which was Martin Truex Jr. earlier this year. The active driver with the most wins at the track is a tie between Harvick and Hamlin with 3 wins each. The active driver with the best average finish at the track is Larson after 7 starts with an average finishing position of 6th. Speaking of Larson, the team with the most wins at the track is Hendrick Motorsports with 14 from what I counted. And finally, from what I counted, the manufacturer with the most wins is Chevrolet with 42.
Now it's time to go into our race winning picks for this weekend's race. I'm going to start off by giving our garage picks for this because why not? I'll just start off. So unless you're Kyle Larson, Hendrick Motorsports seems to struggle at this track, but I'm also making it a rule. I think I'm going to keep this rule. I'm debating, but trying not to choose Kyle Larson for these races because I think he'll do well, but I might totally revoke it because playoffs are a special time. But for a garage pick, this is going to seem unconventional, and I think you two might argue with me on this, but I'm going with Alex Bowman. And hear me out. He's not done well at this track. This has not been his strong suit. This has not been his favorite. He really struggled here in the spring. But I think those were issues that were out of his control. They seemingly seem to be those types of issues when he comes to this track. So I'm hoping they can get a good setup. I'm hoping they can get into the playoffs on a good start. And I have a gut feeling about him this weekend. I don't know if it's a good feeling or a bad feeling. I'm hoping it's good though. So garage pick for this weekend, Alex Bowman. Let's go to Dom.
So I would have to agree with that. I think Alex Bowman, I would put him as my garage pick. I'm trying to pull up here what I had about Bowman because I did write up something about him at Darlington on my website. But, I would have to agree with you. I think his numbers would scare you.
Yes.
He has an average finish of 17.1 with a top 5 and top 10 at Darlington. So those are the numbers for Bowman. But I would have to put him in that same spot. It's not out of the ordinary, but anything can happen when it comes to Darlington because it is a 500-mile race at one of the toughest tracks. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Absolutely. Speaking of more garage picks, Adam, who you got?
I'm going with an oldie but a goodie who's had a little bit of a struggle over the past few months, but this is one of his strong tracks. He's won here several times in the past. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly what years, but I do know that he has won here quite a bit. My garage pick for Darlington, the Southern 500. Oh, what a race. Martin Truex Jr.
He was the winner in the spring, I believe.
He was.
Yes.
Okay.
So Truex has won there. Truex won there in 16 and this year.
Yep. And he's always been consistently at the front of this race from viewing it. But of course, he's also had some grim ones happen. Get a little Darlington stripe here and there. That kind of might ruin your night with these cars. But that's why I have Truex as my garage pick, not my winning pick.
So winning picks, though, let's do those right now. So I'm going to start with Dom. Who is your race winning pick for this weekend at the Southern 500? Give me some explanations.
So I'm going to have to go with Truex. I think Truex is the man to take over Darlington and sweep it for the season. We saw Harvick basically do it last year, winning 2 races at Darlington. I think Truex does it again this year. Again, 2-time winner, 2016 and this season. Average finish of 11.2 and 18 starts. Has a top 5 and 6 top 10s to go along with his victories. I think that Truex is the man, but I will also say I was also debating between him and Blaney because you just have to say, because he's got all the momentum. He's starting on pole position, but what triggered me to stay away from him is his average finish is 19th with only 1 top 10. So that tipped me off to stay away from him and go the Truex route.
I will say, first off, I appreciate the stats very much.
Gotcha.
So it made my day. But I also looked at the stats and I was going to put Blaney and then I backed out of it. But before I give my race winning pick, let's go with Adam for your race winning pick.
The Candyman can, because he races with lots of rowdy energy. Kyle Busch will be your 500 victor.
You don't happen to be sponsored by Rowdy Energy, do you?
I do not. No.
Shameless plug.
Sponsor me, Red Bull, please.
There you go.
I was just about to say, like, let's tag them in the video. Like, there
Right?
you go. Yeah.
You will be victorious in the Southern 500 come Sunday night.
You just have that
So if
gut
you-
feeling.
Yeah, it's more of gut feeling than anything. This track seems to be a good fit for the Toyotas in recent years and seasons. So, go with your gut. Stats. You don't need stats.
So you know what? Do you want me to give you the stats? You'll enjoy the stats for Kyle Busch. I have them right here. Average finish of 10.7, 5 top 5s, 7 top 10s. I mean, that is scary numbers with only having one win.
Scary and deadly. That's why I think he'll be in victory lane.
That is also why I will think he will be in victory lane as well. I'm going to go with Adam here. I usually like to mix up the picks, but he only has one win. Let's make it 2 wins this weekend. Why not the Southern 500? I think Kyle Busch starts the playoffs off on the right foot, gets that win because the Candyman can. Is that how you said it? Is that how you said it? There we go.
The Candyman can.
Oh, we will see what the Candyman can do this weekend, as well as Truex. Those are our playoff picks. This is the preview for this weekend's race. Thank you all for joining us for this special and super fun episode of Above the Yellow Line. Make sure to watch the playoffs kick off at Darlington for the Cookout Southern 500 starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time this Sunday. And if you want to get in on the playoff fun with us at Above the Yellow Line, fill out this bracket and post it to Twitter with the hashtag ATYL playoffs. And whoever has the most correct predictions at the end of the season will win a special giveaway prize to celebrate your playoff prediction victory. Sounds like a lot of fun. So I will post this on Twitter and to my page. And all the brackets need to be turned in before next weekend's race, I believe Richmond. So make sure you fill those out and get to winning. And then again, I got to thank you both, Adam and Dom, so much for joining the show yet again. We're all actually working on a fun little project behind the scenes, hopefully getting out to you all soon. Very much appreciate your enthusiasm and always love having you all as a guest. So thank you so much. And I guess before we go, anything you want to plug for the viewers to just see where else we can find you?
You guys want to give me a follow on Twitter at alucas9166. Lots of fun content and pretty good memes.
Hey!
No, we love it. We love it.
We're here for the memes.
You can find me. I got website domjosephRacing.com, and then Twitter and Instagram at domjosephRacing. And then one more tidbit for anyone looking to pick a winner in the race. Average starting position of the winner since 2011, 9.6. So that would say Harvick and Truex are your guys to win.
Oh, we're putting our viewers in a position.
We'll just have to wait and see. I just tell you the numbers.
Man, we will definitely have to appreciate everything you guys do for the show and behind the scenes. And thank you all at home for viewing this video and all you do for the channel to support these lovely people on your screen. Check out the link below, but before you do that, make sure you like this video and subscribe. Share this with your friends and family. And thank you all so much for watching this super fun episode of Above the Yellow Line. And until next time, we'll see ya.